different sound to the previous radial engine aircraft we've had so far. So there's a P-47 Thunder. Paul told me he was just short of 380 knots when he hit the pull-up on yesterday's show, and he's got the same amount of luck as Pete Kinsey, which I didn't have earlier on. He's got a little blue gap to go into. Well, mainly blue. Paul's probably gone up to about 4,500 feet, using all that energy as he tipped in into a huge loop, now going away on the B axis of the aircraft, which is nicely showing the yellow undersides of this aeroplane. So, based upon the Sea Fury, which is a naval British and appropriate, and as you see those yellow undersides, they are the classic of the World War II years, that they were all the prototype aircraft under test were painted yellow, presumably so you could keep well clear of them in case they disassembled themselves in the air. You'll also see it has a yellow P painted on the side, that again says that the aircraft is a prototype. It's not appropriate to this aeroplane, as it was designed built for the Iraqi Air Force. So it's just more appropriate for our airshow visitors. Paul demonstrating in a derry turn there how fabulous the ailerons on this aircraft are. But it means when the aircraft is flying extremely fast, you've got to have a fair set of muscles because you're pushing those controls against the airflow. And at 400 miles an hour, it can almost feel like it's stuck in concrete. Again, showing those beautifully precise ailerons. In this aeroplane, the ailerons are actually connected to the trim tabs, which are small surfaces on the back end of the ailerons. And it's actually moving the control stick, moves the tabs, and the tabs themselves move the ailerons. Fairly new for the end of the Second World War period, but have been used. They were used on some of the early jets as well. But just means that the controls are actually just as effective at 400 miles an hour as they were at 200 miles an hour, without having to have Arnold Schwarzenegger's biceps to operate them. Very fortunate to actually get to fly this aircraft this year. Typically a British aeroplane, you get into it, it's very big on the outside and very small on the inside. It's a reverse TARDIS like most British aeroplanes, and a little bit better than the early Hurricanes as far as ergonomics goes, so the actual way the cockpit is laid out to a pilot is very important. This is pretty good. As you see Paul rolling the airplane, you can look at the cockpit again, it's a bit like the Bearcat, it's sat right high on top of the fuselage with a sloping forward fuselage going down to the engine, so the view over the nose of the aircraft is very, very good compared with most Second World War aeroplanes. And of course, this being a carrier designed aeroplane, that's again a very important thing to have. So the pilot Paul Bonham showing his amazing skills. I think Paul started flying, he was at what was called a dongler. He was around White Waltham Airport as a teenager, and he used to cadge rides in aircraft while he was cleaning the hangar and pushing aircraft out and refueling them. And he took that into a very early career in commercial aviation. He was one of British Airways' very youngest captains in his late 20s, having started his career flying King Airs. And Paul is still an active pilot with British Airways. Well, reasonably active, he's part-time, but he has to fit these things in. Paul lives quite near to Duxford. He's got 4 kids and a very, very, shall we say, understanding wife. And Paul has been flying Warbirds since his, again, late 20s. Was actually in the crew room in Berlin. I also flew for British Airways, and Paul came excitedly in and said, "Guess who just rang me up?" And he was the chief pilot of the fighter collection, who gave him a pilot's notes for a P-40 and said, "Would you like to fly our aircraft?" And he's been flying them now for nearly 30 years. So Paul reefing it round there in a very tight high G turn, rolling out on the finals. Let's see what's next. Possibly a roll maybe, or just a flyby. Let's have a look. Looks like a wave goodbye. Superb display there.
performance by Paul Bonham. So everybody in the crowd, if you enjoyed it, please put your hands together. Paul Bonham in the Hawk of Fury, and thank you very much to Mark for the commentary for that. He knows far more about that aeroplane than I do, so very grateful for him to come and talk you through that performance in what is a beautiful, magnificent machine. So as Paul touches down and clears the runway, next up we have something completely different.
This is normal, so this is part of this sleeve-valved engine. Because those sleeves are moving up and down with the pistons moving up and down inside them, effectively this is an oil loss system.